How's it going, guys? Well, welcome back to TheBlueShifting and welcome back to Vampire Masquerade Coteries of New York. Last time we've been doing some more missions, and I'm kind of I'm understanding that we can't make friends with everybody. We're going to be very selective about who we talk to, when, and why, and how, and all of that. Now, big events that happened. The Tremere. I can't say the name. The Blood Mage Vampire people. I think we finished that. We got like an achievement and everything. So Agathon, I think, is officially considered a friend and probably will come to help us if we ask him to help us, which is great. We also did a little bit of work for Sophie, which I'm hoping will help her be on side with us. And we investigated someone who's been following us, who kept us from being hit by a car. So there's something really odd about that. Like, why are we being followed by somebody who wants to protect us? And then the bigger plot point is we've revealed that tomorrow we're being arranged to meet with our sister Emma, who has been relentlessly hunting us, and if she's not dissuaded from her investigation, she could become a liability to the Masquerade and then might be eliminated. So we got to figure out how we're going to do that, and I can't use my powers because I relied on my powers too much, and now I need to feed. So could be a bit of a problem, but for now we're just going to be working on the rest of this evening, and we're going to have to figure out how to hopefully save Emma without her understanding why she needs to be saved. I have no idea how we're going to do that. That's going to be tough. That's a tough cookie to crack. But for tonight we have visits to make, and I've got two on the docket that I'm considering. There's the guy from the church who definitely brings up some interesting things to talk about, but I'm not too sure if I'm really all that invested in it. I mean, it's cool to talk the philosophy of it all and to get another perspective, but I'm more intrigued by this somebody watching me, the person who's been stalking me, because they went to the trouble of saving us when they didn't have to. That makes me a lot more interested in learning who they are and what they might want from us. So I think I'm going to go with this one. I also would be interested in looking at the Hope character. Maybe I'll get a chance to work with her, but I don't really know. So for now, we're going to jump into Somebody's Watching Me Part 2, and let's just get that started, shall we? Alright, you're in your haven when the intercom rings. Answering cautiously, you hear an older man's voice. Hello, I'm calling because a friend asked me to come by and offer you my services. What do you mean services? Yeah, like, first, who are you? Then we'll follow up with who sent you. You know, services. You know what I'm talking about. The man sounds strangely excited, breathing hard. You may have the wrong address. No, wait! I know you're the one of them. Please, it's alright. I don't mind. You can drink with me, if you understand what I mean. Okay. He's too eager. I don't like that. That's dangerous, but I do need to drink. But, I don't know. A man you've never seen before is paying a visit to an apartment not many people know of, offering for you to feed from him. The first statement I think is too risky. The second statement, not true. I drink from people I never meet all the time. But I'm getting creeped out because of the circumstances of this. I'd rather go hunting, and I should probably take advantage of the situation, but it's rubbing me the wrong way. I'm getting creeped out. I'm so sorry. Don't worry. I mean no harm. Silence. A minute passes, and you hear a knock on the door to your haven. You cautiously open the door. A stranger looks at you sheepishly. He's in his 30s, dressed in a clean business suit. He looks moderately successful, someone you could have met at an investment bank. Wait, what? Oh, so it was a call from downstairs, so I couldn't actually see him. I was super confused why I was like, why is he approaching the door a second time? I'm sorry, I didn't want to intrude. That's why I called from downstairs. I don't like this. Like, I honestly am probably a fool for passing this up, but I think it's rubbing me all the wrong way. I'm gonna ask him to leave. Please leave. I don't want to see you around here again, and tell whoever sent you they can come see me themselves instead of sending lackeys. Please, feed for me. It's alright, really. The man sounds desperate. Whatever this is about, you want no part of it. I'll call the cops. And you can explain to them why you're creeping around here. It's an empty threat. You wouldn't call the police on your own haven, but you hope he doesn't know that. Oh, please, not the cops. I can't afford to get arrested. The man takes one last yearning look at you and turns around, running down the hallway. He presses the elevator button nervously and disappears inside. You'll have to wonder what this was all about. Who was this guy, and why did he show up trying to offer you his blood? Okay. Well, that was very strange. I mean, I do need to feed, and I definitely could see that being a good idea, but come on, you gotta admit, those circumstances were way too sketchy. People just offering themselves up and seeming desperate for it, that just seems... It's too convenient for me to be able to trust. But let's rest for now. Knock, knock. You'd ask who's there, but you don't know if the sheriff of New York City would play along. When you open the door, you see him toying with the car keys he's holding in his hand. Ready to go, fledgling? You don't feel like it, but you give him a nod nevertheless. Excellent. Stay close. He leads you down to a vehicle he's parked nearby. Once again, he takes the wheel, literally and figuratively. Everything inside is just the way you remember it, down to the rear view mirror reflecting the intense stare of your guide. Don't know why I stumbled there. However, the trip itself feels notably different. The last time Coetier drove you around, he was forcibly dragging you away from your old life. This time, he's pulling you back into it. Let me tell you how it's going to go. As I said, I've arranged a meeting between you and your kin. It's going to take place somewhere you should know very well. Probably the art gallery. I'll watch over you two from a safe distance to make sure you adhere to the rules. You should know these very well, but I'll reiterate just so you can't ever say I didn't warn you. Don't do anything that would violate the masquerade. Don't establish some secret routes of contact. I will know. Do treat it as the last time you two will meet. Take this chance to wrap everything up. Here's your story. You're fine. You found yourself at a crossroads, decided to radically change your life and move out of the city. The subway is unbearable. The rent is too high. They've heard it all. However, you wouldn't leave for good without saying farewell to the only person who cared. He gives you a compassionate stare. It's gonna leave a scar, boy. But a true artist knows those are not something to hide, but to display with pride. You're a fresh corpse. People you meet can still leave a mark on you. One night, a long time from now, you'll realize you miss collecting new wounds. Your car makes a sudden turn. I'll leave the finer details to you. Just be so kind and don't make me regret it. You can sense he's going out of his way for you, but doesn't try to force you into gratitude by stating it plainly. If you know, you know. He'll see if you are worthy of his aid. We're here. You take a look around to recognize your destination. He was right. It is a familiar place. It's right next to the exhibition space, the one where you met your future sire. This is where you saw Emma for the last time. This is where they last saw poor Protag. Who knows whatever might have happened to him. That's what your sister is trying to find out. I took the liberty of messaging her in your stead. She's up there, waiting for you to come and explain yourself. He turns off the engine and relaxes comfortably in his seat. You silently leave the car and head straight for the exhibition space. The elevator ride-up just doesn't seem to end. After what feels like 5 hours, but in reality it's closer to 30 seconds, you finally reach your floor. Now, the elevator animation is definitely going down, not up. So, Oh boy, I'm not ready for this. Emma's standing there, looking at the painting. She's trying to act carefree, but is holding onto her bag a little too tightly. When she hears your footsteps, she's startled. Then she sees you, and her eyes immediately fill with tears. She runs up to you and gives you a hearty hug. Gosh darn it! Protect, gosh darn it! You stay in her arms, silent for a little while. The bonds of blood run deep. This feels right. You're so cold. What happened to you? You look into her eyes and start searching your heart for a lie that will satisfy her only for a little bit. You know what? I think I'm going to open it up with I love you. It's not going to go well, but I do think we should start with the truth. You can't come up with anything convincing, so you decide to tell her the only truth you're able to share. I only want you to know this. I love you. If there was one person I ever loved, it was you. I've always known the things that you did to save my stupid butt. I wish I could She hugs you more tightly in response, but quickly lets you go. She's not satisfied. She wants answers. What happened, Protag? Talk to me. After the life-saving work she sent your way, from that concept artist job to this very exhibition. I've been losing my mind, talking to literally everybody I know and ask when the last time they saw you was. All the time she's helped you get your crap together. I've always been honest with you. The least you can do is return the favor. She has, and she absolutely deserves to know, but she can't. Quadir is waiting downstairs. Protag! Her voice startles you. Your first instinct is to run. And like the beast you become, you trust it. Protag? You can't do this. Not now, not like this. She watches you, kindred, an undying creature of the night, zoom away from her, run into the elevator and press the ground floor button. This might be the last time you ever see each other. At least the look in her eye and force you... At least look her in the eye and force yourself to tell her one last thing. What am I gonna say? What am I gonna say? I really can't see her again. It would be in her best interest, my best interest, if I never see her again. I can't send her a message. Like, that's just, again, that would just be too dangerous. Like, I mean, it's sure it's possible, but not right now, especially. One last thing. For her own safety, I gotta keep her away. Don't search for me. For your and my own good. You're too stunned to react as the elevator doors close. You slide down the wall, hiding your face in your arms. You find your own priorities disgusting. What gives you down the most is not the fact that you failed to give enclosure to the only person you cared about. It's more that you failed to make this farewell beautiful. It makes you feel like a failure of an artist. Even with this newfound power, you still can't express yourself through the canvas of your life. You're still stuck in your old ways. But you know Em. She'll take the pain you've caused her and use it to make art that resonates, that sells. What if authentic trauma is the best gift you could find to repay her for her generosity? Christ. You're disgusting. If you consider all those emotions commodities, no wonder you're a failure as an artist. The elevator doors open. Better run while she's still up there. I wonder if I were less, like, blood needed, or maybe if I'd made better choices and had more humanity, if I would have been able to actually talk to her. I wonder if that would have changed. Back to Quadir's car. Once you close the door, he instantly puts his foot up on the gas pedal. Walking off the pitch with no regrets. Said everything you had to say? Quadir sighs. Yeah, that's what I gathered from here. I'll keep an eye on the situation. Placate her somehow if she won't stop looking. I've got some well-tested methods. Non-violent, of course. He gives you a good stare via the rearview mirror. You're an artist, aren't you? You nod half-heartedly. So you, of all people, should know that things never work out the way you plan. There could always be more time to plan, tools that could have helped you execute it better. Perfection is just an accident. The only thing you can do is give your best shot. You give the best shot given the circumstances, and immediately move on to the next thing. When all's said and done, regret is nothing but narcissism and a waste of time. Ooh, interesting. When all's said and done, regret is nothing but narcissism and a waste of time. It's kind of true. I think regret is good, because sometimes there are things that we need to do, or like, there are things we need to be, wary of, that we need to be willing to learn from our past. But clinging to regret, letting it direct us, giving us fear to replace our drive, that gives it control. That holds us back, and that can be a waste of time. And it ultimately is a self-centered focus. That's something I need to work on. I think if regret is a manifestation of narcissism, I think I might have some narcissistic tendencies in that regard, at least. I don't know. There's a lot to a person. Like, some people, I'm sure everyone is narcissistic to a point, but it's whether or not that narcissism is like in control that really determines what's going on, what works and what doesn't, what's worthy, what's not, and what's like going to give command to your life. It's really profound, though. Sophie, your courtier. Those are the materials you've been given, and they're potent ones. Make the best use of them, so they might create something more beautiful than your artist tools ever did. And as a side note, I envy you. I wish I still had someone to make my knees feel like jelly, even when you can't see them anymore. Just knowing that they're there keeps in touch with you, with what you once were. Excuse me. The car speeds up to cross an intersection before the light turns red. You give Quadir a good hard look. Thank you. Thanks. It doesn't feel like a, how do you call it, very vampire thing to say. But you say it nevertheless. He's visibly taken aback, and his usual furrowed brow smooths out for a moment. Then he takes on a serious, slightly sorrowful expression. I think it's fair. Don't suck up to me, kid. Mr. Bad Guy is still here. Without a doubt, he will go back and decapitate suckers like you any time now. The car starts slowing down. We're here. You look out the window and see your haven. Take care. I'll see you around. Just pray I don't have to see you too often. You leave the car and start walking to your haven, thinking about Quadir. Can't say you're fond of him, but with the welcome he gave you and all, but after tonight you can't say you aren't either. You're gonna need some more time to understand him, that's for sure. I like the guy. Oh, fetch, a reporter's back. But here's the thing, that reporter could be really useful. Vampires are likely to overlook a normal human running around. Now granted, he's not going to be capable of doing much, but I can't think of a better way for someone to get information, especially in a way that might go under the radar of a lot of people. A nosy reporter, but somebody else is stalking her apartment again? Interesting. Let's see what this is. The weather's cold and windy as you walk to Sophie's apartment. As a vampire, that doesn't matter anymore. You might have been saddled with eternal hunger, but at least you can ignore the wind chill. Just as you come to the door of Sophie's building, she storms out, muttering into her phone. Yes, I know. Don't worry. I trust you to handle it. You've heard Sophie talking to her associates before. It always makes the same. It's always the same. Generalities and vague suggestions. Makes you think she's involved in mysterious machinations, yet doesn't tell you anything. Of course she is. Has nothing gone through your skull? She's like the definition of intrigue. Like, she's obviously good at playing the game. Sophie's dressed to kill, but there's nothing unusual in that. She likes to make an impression. A black car with tinted windows is waiting for her in front of her door. A chauffeur steps out to open the car door for her. Sophie notices you. I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. If you could look around for me one more time, that would be wonderful. You told me you'd gotten rid of that reporter. Turns out he's still here, snooping about. Sophie's very good at communicating disappointment. She doesn't have to do much to make it clear she's unhappy to have to return to this issue. I'll take care of it. After tonight, he won't trouble you anymore. Good. Don't disappoint me. The reporter talked his way into the building during the day. Once the doorman understood what was happening, he threw the reporter out. He showed old pictures of me to my neighbors. It's very awkward, you understand. Sophie disappears into the car and the chauffeur closes the door behind her. You watch as the sleek vehicle disappears into the Manhattan traffic. Just one anonymous car among many. Best sit down somewhere and devise a plan of action. You go to a nearby diner, settle into a booth, and order a coffee from the steely-eyed Latino waitress. As she brings you your cup, you describe Frank Daugherty to her on the off chance she's seen something. Just as she's about to answer, you happen to look outside and something catches your eye. The diner is brightly lit, so you lean close to the window to see the street through it. You got lucky. Frank is standing on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, looking at something on his phone. You slide out of the booth, throwing a few small bills on the table, mumbling something to the waitress. You step outside. I don't want to use powers right now because I'm already pushing the blood meter, so I'm going to follow him covertly. For a reporter, Frank isn't terribly observant. You keep your distance, hiding behind people and cars, but he doesn't look around. It seems like he wants to find a private nook to inspect the photos he took tonight. An alley. He ducks in and you follow. Oh, God, you again. Please, I'm working a different story, I swear. Frank retreats deeper into the alley. Let's have a friendly chat. Or, I know you're here, like... Yeah, that's the truth. Don't worry, Frank. I know all about why you're here. You do? I mean... Okay, I'm sorry I tried to bullcrap you. Just tell me how I can help you. I thought we agreed there's no story. How come you're here? I thought we agreed there's no story. Usually when someone says there's no story, that means there's a story. I just couldn't let it go. Look, I don't want any trouble. I can see that you're serious. There's something to Sophie Langley. I think you know what it is. You take a long, hard look at Frank Dowdry. He's a tenacious man, but not brave. After the last time you met, you were sure he had been dealt with. Where did he find the courage to come here again? What's your real angle? I like you, Frank. Why don't you give up? What's your real angle here? Everybody plays an angle. That's one of the things you learn in my profession. You're smart. You know that there will be others after me. If there's a real story, they'll come find it. Your best shot is with a friendly reporter. Someone you can trust. Someone like me. So what do you say? Get ahead of the story. It'll be good for you and Miss Langley, too. You almost believe it, but something about Frank feels off. This is about blackmail. You've already sunk pretty low, Frank. But blackmail? That's rock bottom. You sure you want to go that far? No. I still have my pride. I've never done this work for money. It's a lifestyle. A calling. Your values put you in the gutter. If your values are so important to you, why are you here in the gutter? You're here in the gutter too, so don't get high and mighty with me. Sometimes I just need some extra money, that's all. Now we're finally getting somewhere. There's a guy. He's paying me, that's all. But I can't talk about that. In fact, I could freaking kill him? I think I'd like to offer for him to work for me. Tell you what, Frank, I'll make this easy for you. Work for me, and I'll make your life easier. I want to know who's after Sophie Langley, and you can get me that information. Who knows? Maybe this will become a lasting and lucrative relationship. Frank is taken aback by your suggestion. Still, he clearly needs a friend. I don't know. I mean, if there are people leaning on me, they won't take kindly to it if I help someone else. Let me help you. Let me help you, Frank. I suppose I shouldn't say no to that. Tell you what, next time something comes up, I'll give you a call. Maybe I'll have something you could do for me as well. Quid pro quo. What else is there? I'm a pro. Frank hesitates for a second as if he's going to say something more. He takes one last look at you, turns and leaves the alley, disappearing into the crowd. You're left wondering whether it was a good choice. Frank's not reliable, that much is clear, but perhaps you can get benefit from him anyway. Isn't that what the kindred do? Play people and turn them into puppets? Now, he is interesting because he's obviously, if he actually would help me out, then it proves that he's not very loyal. That doesn't mean he wouldn't be useful, but I need to make sure not to give him any information either. Because likely he could be giving that information to somebody else who has an interest. Alright. Rest, rest, rest. No rest for the wicked. Well, in this case, yes, there is rest for the wicked. Ooh, we just rolled right into the next night. Interesting. So the question now becomes, do I want to continue the church conversations, or do I want to start maybe making a new connection with a new vampire? I don't know. Faith and myth, or searching for hope? I am so torn. I genuinely don't know what I want to do here. Benot Segal seems interesting. He definitely seems like he might have information that's, and the other thing is he's outside. He's a potential courtier that I made independently who contacted me. I need to know more about what he wants. I mean, hope sounds intriguing, but I really want to see what he's got. I mean, it's probably going to get into philosophy that's not going to be all that important to me, but there's something about him that I think's interesting. The fact that he specifically reached out to me catches my attention. Again, those are the people I think I'm catching my eye more than anything, are the people who went to effort to contact my character. Because that says, first of all, that they need me for something. And second of all, it's again one of those situations where I feel like it's something that's beyond the expected. And I think that those tools and, allies are going to be far more useful in the long run. You started looking at churches differently since your last encounter with Benoit. You're not sure what happened inside, but it was unavoidably real. You felt it. When Benoit mentioned that being in the presence of Father Anthony's faith would eventually kill someone like you, an undead being, you believed him. It doesn't seem very common, though. In New York, you pass thousands of people every night, and none of them have made you feel so afraid and insignificant. If you were to encounter someone like Father Anthony in a subway or nightclub, you would know. But maybe someone like Father Anthony would never be in a nightclub or maybe the subway, though. There are many churches in the 5 boroughs, and you're pretty sure most of them don't contain someone whose faith can touch you in this way. Yet you become wary. They just might. Still, tonight the cathedral looks as before, a striking landmark acting as a symbol of faith for people who have no idea that vampires exist in their midst. For them, questions of faith and myth are theoretical or philosophical. For you, those same questions suddenly define the meaning of your new existence. You sneak into the cathedral like an old hand, as if going to church had been a regular part of your life. Inside the cathedral is almost deserted. You're not sure if you're meeting Benoit alone. The idea of feeling Father Anthony's faith on your undead flesh freezes you with terror. Benoit is waiting for you in the front pews of the cathedral in the exact same spot where you saw Father Anthony. Worried, you approach, but don't feel the touch of faith that shook you before. Benoit nods as you sit next to him in the pew. Aren't you worried? Aren't you worried about meeting here? What if your friend the priest returns? Don't worry. He's not here tonight. You've had some time to think. I'm guessing you found the touch of Father Anthony's faith hard to ignore. For most people, God's presence is a question of faith. When I talk to Father Anthony, it feels like proof. Benoit is fervent, intense as he speaks. It's clear these questions have consumed his existence. Perhaps they'll consume yours, too. What does the Camarilla believe? What do the kindred of the Camarilla believe, the old ones? It's true, the elders are not always so good at teaching their children. Maybe the Camarilla would function better if we all knew these stories. Anyways, the Elder. A vampire who's experienced the last 2 or more centuries of unlife. Elders are the most active participants in the Jihad, the secret, the self-destructive war waged between the ancient undead. Elder vampires tend to manipulate their lesser kin, using them as pawns in a terrible game, the rules of which defy comprehension. And that's the problem, is they've had so long to watch not only other kindred, but just humans in general. It'd be very easy to learn how to puppet if you know what you're doing. And to live that long, you need to know what you're doing. Benoit looks around reflexively to make sure nobody's listening. There are only a few people in the enormous cathedral, and they don't seem to be interested in 2 loners murmuring to each other in the front pew. It might seem like ancient history, but things that happened thousands of years ago. But time works differently for our kind. If the stories are true, there are Methuselahs still in existence who walked the earth when Jesus was alive. The only problem is that old vampires lie. They adjust history to suit their egos. Let's focus on what we can verify. Shouldn't we focus on what we can verify here and now, or our blood, the effects of Father Anthony's belief? I suppose that would be the scientific approach. Still, I can't let go the idea that the old stories will tell us something. This is how the story goes. This is the basic fundamentals of anthropology and sociology. I think anthropology is effectively sociology, but looking backwards. Looking at the past and even knowing that it's not 100% accurate. Being able to try and glean truths from the past. God curses Cain as punishment for the murder of Abel. Cain walks the night, shunned by humanity, and drank blood to sustain himself. Even from the point of our origin, we are damned. However, the story becomes really interesting when we move forward. Cain creates more of our kind, often referred to as the second generation. The number of steps between a vampire and the mythological Cain. How far descended from the first a given vampire is. Low generation provides great power, just as it does a stronger curse and hunger. Interesting. So have they certified that the older you are, the more closely related to the original, the more powerful you are? Because if that's confirmed, that's very interesting. That infers like a dilution. They lived in the first city, later called Enoch, ruled openly over the city's human inhabitants. I see the first city as Cain's redemption, cursed by God to wander. He remade himself as a ruler and lawgiver, acting as an immortal shepherd to humanity. It only started to go wrong when the second generation begat the third, and the vampire started to run amok. What happened to the first city? It was lost in the deluge. Noah had his ark to save him, but our kind had to rely on our gifts of blood. If you're skeptical about this piece of history, remember that even the local flood can bring massive destruction. After the first city, Cain largely departs the story. Perhaps he was disheartened by the depreciations of his descendants. The antediluvians went on to build a second city in imitation of the first, but it's doubtful their rule was just. Antediluvians, what is that? The progenitors, members of the dreaded 13 generation and the founders of the 13 vampire clans. No, the dreaded third generation. Okay. So, first generation, Cain. Second generation, his followers that became part of the first city. Third generation is the start of what is now, like, in place. Interesting. There's a very similar generational system that's in a Brandon Sanderson book called Mistborn. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's definitely something there. There are people moving in the cathedral. Both you and Benoit have made sure none get close enough to hear you talk. As Benoit goes on, your undead senses direct something that deviates from the normal hubbub of devoted mortals, cathedral workers, and tourists. You hear the squeaking wheels of an old wheelchair that hasn't been taken out too often. We've been doing this for 20 years, and still you pull stuff like this, Michael? Why did you bring your sister? We're on the field. This is no place for the disabled. The voice is that of an older man, Midwestern. He sounds exasperated, as if he was rehashing an argument for the 100th time. She wanted to come. She doesn't get out of the house very often. Besides, you should be grateful, Bobby. We would have never found our new partners without her. The second voice belongs to an older man, too. It's more intense and still holds echoes of a Russian accent. Yes, because she talked about vampires online. You got your door busted by the FBI, as I remember. We sure did, but we cleared up the misunderstanding and now we're consultants. So quit your griping. Bobby, Michelle, sorry, wrong name. Michael, play nice. You sound like an old couple. The third voice has a heavier Russian accent and belongs to an older woman. All three have clearly known each other for a long time. Let's find Father Anthony and see if he can help us. From what I've heard, he is an exceptional man. Yeah, exceptional, but he doesn't like moles. You nudge Benoit and discreetly point out the three people approaching you along the cathedral's central aisle. He nods in understanding. This is bad news, whoever these three are. Are they Inquisition, maybe? We need to get out. Let's meet outside. I mean, it doesn't hurt to move discreetly. Better not call attention to yourself. You decide to move to the side of the cathedral and pretend to pray at an altar. You walk casually towards the side, away from the three approaching mortals. You feel their eyes bore in the back of you for a bit, bore into your back, but you force yourself to be cool. Benoit is nowhere to be seen. You blink and he's disappeared in a burst of speed. You're worried it was too conspicuous, but maybe the mortals missed it. You pretend to admire the architecture for a while before glancing back at the trio. They have settled in the exact spot you just occupied, apparently waiting for something and conversing in hushed tones. Once you're sure their attention is elsewhere, you start walking briskly down the side aisle toward the exit. That was a close call. Who were those three? Did you recognize them? I might have. I'm not sure. There's talk of only a few tenacious vampire hunters living in the city. One of them is supposed to be a woman in a wheelchair. For a second, Benoit looks at you as if he's wondering whether he should say something. There's one thing I've always wondered about the story of Cain. The traditions of the Camarilla put a lot of faith in the relationships between sire and childe. You're supposed to follow the example of your maker, yet Cain didn't really seem to care for the vampires he embraced. Did you think it was a mistake to create our kind? We should make our own way in the world. It doesn't matter who your parents are or what their thoughts are in your life. Ultimately, what you do is what matters. We should make our own way in the world. All this talk of Cain, sires, and childe makes me think that we're bound to the hierarchy forever. We are, my friend, we are. Unless you want to go anarch. You know, I'm Sophie's child, and you're her protege. It's amazing that we share an appreciation for the methodologies of our kind, considering Sophie has little interest in the questions of the spirit. Interesting. So he does have a connection to Sophie, and yet she didn't recommend I talk to him. So that's interesting indeed. You stare at Benoit. You knew there was something he wasn't telling you, but in all the talk about Cain and the First City, you forgot about it. Now the only question is, what does this mean? Does Sophie know her child is talking to you? Probably not. Don't hold it against me, but I admit finding some pleasure in seeing you suffer the effects of Father Anthony's faith. I suppose there's a demon in me. I'm not your enemy. I understand you're bitter, Benoit. I'm not your enemy. I'm sorry. I know that. It's just that sometimes I too get tempted by sin. You know, we should meet again. We've talked so much about myth, but maybe that's cowardly when the reality of faith is right in front of us. I'll introduce you to Father Anthony. You nod, unsure whether that's a good idea. Benoit walks away from you and you follow his example, not wanting to hang around the cathedral any longer. So now we get a better idea of what he's doing and why he's here. He is either at odds with Sophie, or he's jealous of what Sophie's done, including me in some plot. That could be bad. I'm not as excited about that working with him anymore. But now we get a free choice. It looks like we're going to be able to try and make some time with Hope after all. It's a quiet, moody internet cafe. Half of its space serves as a comfy coffee bar these days. But behind a glass wall, it still has space dedicated to rows of PCs. Internet cafes, I've never really seen more. I saw one once, and I don't know. Maybe I've just always been around computers, but I just don't know why you would need an internet cafe specifically. Like, what are the advantages of it? And like beyond like, oh, you don't have your own PC, but then again, why not use the library? Like, if you need a computer, like what would make an internet cafe better? From the street, you notice tired adults in casual clothes typing away absent-mindedly, and some bored kids wasting their late evening hours on colorful online games. If Sophie's intel is to be believed, this is where Hope has set up her haven. One of the waiters is standing outside the building, gazing at the sky with a smartphone in one hand and a vape pen in the other. You approach the man and tell him. I was supposed to meet Hope here. If I told you I was supposed to meet Hope here, what would you say to me? I'd probably tell you I'm surprised. People are usually far more discreet about seeing her. The man slowly takes a drag from his e-cig, sizing you up and down in silence. After a long, awkward moment, he raises his voice again. Come, right this way. He heads back into the cafe and you follow his lead. Ooh, fetch. I hate it when it does that. When you make your way through the space with computers, no one averts their gaze from their spreadsheets, emails, Facebook profiles, or games of Fortnite. It's a common sight, one you wouldn't have paid much attention to a few weeks ago, but now it seems so unnervingly quaint. Would they still be spending their time like this if they were immortal? The waiter unlocks the unassuming door at the end of the room and lets you inside. You two swiftly make your way through the labyrinth of sterile gray corridors, taking confusing twists and turns. Feels like you're traveling into a different world, crossing one invisible portal after another. Eventually, you reach your destination. Your guide motions you to enter a dark room with a lone source of pale light. A computer screen in the distance beckons you to come closer. This is interesting. As you do, you hear the door shutting behind your back and a short chuckle echoing behind it. Is this the place? Nothing else to do but sit on the chair in front of the computer. The monitor displays a modern chat application. A cursor is blinking in the user nickname entry field in the middle of the screen, obviously expecting you to input your handle. After brief consideration, you type in... I'm gonna go with something goofy, especially because it's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe your newfound sensibilities have gone haywire, but this place has a barely noticeable sleazy aura. Might as well go along with it. You input pornos collector and press the enter button. After a few seconds, the chat window opens. A message starts appearing on the screen and clicks in session. Hostage executioner. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Okay. Okay, so it's like a whole chat. Okay. Alright. Identify yourself within 2 minutes or get banned. Fetch. I'm gonna scroll through real quick. So, just be clear, don't have a wank. So, like, I join in, just be clear, don't have a wank rag. Oh, for sure. No FR. Nothing wasn't meant for Jerry, of course. Not much longer. Yeah, Jerry's the champ MVP. I mean, I've admitted far worse things on here. I need to lie about this one. Literally, who cares? You and me both, bozo. Pornos collector? No idea. New user, wasn't here a second before. What the heck? Was anyone informed? No, no announcement. I know I wasn't. Jerry? And then Jerry said, identify yourself in 2 minutes to get banned. The chat goes silent. Everyone's seemingly waiting for you to say something before proceeding. This must be a close-knit group. Better say something before they kick you out. Let's see. I'm looking for Hope. Is she here? Who the F are you? This is meant to be a safe channel. Investigating went wrong. Okay, no! Resist! I have to, okay, maybe if I manhandle it. Up we go. Okay, how did they even get in here? Stay calm. Can you get their location, Jerry? Lol. Yeah, sure. That's our Jerry. Gonna DM it to anyone interested. Oh boy, now you're in trouble. Yeah, you're gonna get dummy. The day you decide to spy on us. Yeah, well, thankfully we're in a, cafe. That's the best part about this is oh, that's another reason to use an internet cafe. If you want to avoid being traced directly. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to sign in on any accounts, but we didn't. We just signed in on this one, so we're actually pretty safe. Can presence work on a computer? I don't think so. I'm not going to try it. The waiter brought me here. Calm down. F off. That one guy brought me here. F all. Thought this is where thought this is where I can meet Hope. Yeah, I'm calling BS. Jerry, how are your things on your end? Got the info. Nice. You want? Hang on. Okay. You want to die? You will die. You will die. Lovely. Let me know what everyone's sentencing. Pornos collector to death. These names are great. I'm literally on my way to kill you. Jeez. This is some just lovely internet right here. Yeah, sorry to inform you about the die. RIP. You're getting your throat slit right here, right now. Lovely, lovely. Split second after you read the message, you feel someone's arms tying around your neck. The violent return to reality catches you off guard. A jolt of panic rushes through your brain, paralyzing you momentarily. You've come to the wrong chat room, Mother. A ridiculous whisper rings out next to your ear, then the grip under your head gets even tighter. You start struggling, but even with your newfound supernatural strength, you're having trouble breaking out. This isn't a normal human you're dealing with. Last words. Your chat room sucks! Yeah, I think that I'm gonna go out with a bang. Your chat room sucks. Hey, that's just rude. But I still laughed. Her hand holding your chin shifts the position slightly. Don't struggle, or I'll break your windpipe, or my phone, which would end up even worse for you. Sounds of a camera shutter and light flashing. Did they just take some selfies with you? Alright, that's enough fun. I'm letting you go. We can have a talk. Don't do anything stupid, Mr. Intruder. Pretty please. The mysterious assailant loosens their grip on you and gently pushes you away. You quickly turn and take a look at good look at them. Interesting. Without that interaction, I'd be like, oh, she's cute. And she is cute, but I'm also terrified of her slightly. Let me just finish this. It's a pale blonde woman in her 20s, giving you a slightly judgmental look while rapidly tapping away at her phone screen. First, you notice her outrageous outfit, seemingly thrown together from random thrift store finds. Then you take note of her tattoos, a sprawling tapestry of odd patterns and designs covering every visible part of her body. At first glance, it all seems aimless, but it has a constant sense of style upon closer inspection. Her eyes focus on you for a second. Gave you a scare, huh? Sorry. That's what you get for entering the Ladies' Haven without her permission. And she's back to her phone. With her relatively small build, it's hard to believe you had trouble overpowering her physically. But then again, nothing is what it seems when it comes to the undead, and even compared with the vampires you've met so far, she comes off as an eccentric, curious presence. She shoots you another glance, noticing you're still cautious of her. Calm yourself, man. I wouldn't put anything like this. I won't pull anything like this anymore. It was just I feel stupid saying it out loud. A vibe check. Vibe check. Vibe check. Yeah, got a glimpse of your vibe on the internet and in a dangerous situation. I see you got a pretty good idea about who you really are. I'm Hope, by the way. If you're here, you've probably heard of me. So I went ahead and skipped the pleasantries, but come to think of it, I might have skipped too many of those. Yeah, she definitely fits the description you were given by Sophie. Your chat room sucks, but what's funny? So there's that. Unless you really meant it, in which case, hey, F you. Oh yeah, credit where credit's due. You're probably not a boring person online, going by your chosen handle. Believe it or not, among bloodsuckers, that's still rare as heck. Most of them are like clueless baby boomers when it comes to internet stuff. Anyway, don't worry about the chat. It was all a game to us. No hard feelings, okay? I'll introduce you properly later. On the monitor, the chatter continues normally. Your visit is like yesterday's news, no longer relevant to anything. That's the internet for you. But, look, if we're going to talk about you, you should have something to say too. What are you doing here? About time, she asks. Note to self, she really loves the sound of her own voice. Sophie Langley sent me. Langley. Wait. Crap. Are you the new Langley plaything? Word seems to be getting around fast. Of course you are. It was obvious the second Langley got her hands on a new servant, she started building a network. Your admissions tell me that could really come in handy when... But Langley, that's a risky game. This kind of ambition attracts too much attention. Piss off. Then again... Kara... She seems to be having a spirited argument with herself, only parts of it audible. Is it just you, or did her facial expressions and body language change a bit between one sentence and the other? Now, we've seen this in Masquerade Bloodlines, like the original. One of the main characters that you meet runs a club, and she literally has a split personality. Maybe like she would have been diagnosed before with dissociative personality disorder, like kind of like an apparent change of personality, but being a vampire amplified that to the point where it became effectively real. Before you make certain, it's not just your eyes playing tricks on you. She focuses half her attention back on you, the other half, of course, still obsessed with her smartphone. Listen, I'm not saying I'm not interested in cooperation, but before I make a decision, I need to make sure you sort of understand me and that I sort of understand you. And since I was planning to put on a show before you came here, I propose a little game. Oh, this could be interesting. Hope absentmindedly spins her phone in her hand, considering how to put her thoughts into words. Then she approaches a switch on the wall and flicks it. Neon lights flare up, illuminating the room. You take a look around. Interesting. Ah, I see. Okay. What on earth have I stumbled into? The room is certainly unique. It looks like a butcher's room, repurposed to be a living space. The modern computer in front of you starkly contrasts the ominous industrial walls. At the back, there's an overwrought bed covered in velvet with meat hooks hanging above it. On top of the bed sheets, you notice what seems to be pieces of elaborate S&M equipment and a camera. Oh, great. What on earth have I stumbled into? Wait a minute. You want my help? Moderate my camp show. Okay. I mean, I would have more reservations if you were actually asking me to directly participate, but if I'm just going to be running a camera, I could probably do that. Cam show? Your eyebrows twitch involuntarily. This is definitely not the kind of request you expected to hear tonight. She notices your confusion. Take it or leave it, buddy. You just became a kindred, but you want to become my partner in crime. Show me you can handle yourself while watching my back in an everyday environment. She's serious. The show starts in 10 minutes. If you think you feel better than this, you better walk out the door right now. I won't hold a grudge. I've got better things to do. As if to prove it, she looks at something displayed on her phone and cracks a brief grin. Another reply typed down with absurd speed. Tap, tap, tappity tap. 9 minutes. It's now or never. Show moderator. Risk of violating the masquerade? Hi. Content warnings? Oh yes, so do you take the job? Interesting. Risk of violating the masquerade high, but she's willing to do it and hasn't died yet, which means she's got a trick up her sleeve for it. Why not? Hope brightens up, and her smile looks surprisingly sincere. Excellent. I promise you'll find this interesting in more ways than one. Alright, give me a second. She spends a minute setting up the computer you used before, then urges you to sit down. The explanation of the moderation functionality is simple. Boils down to ignoring anyone who doesn't disrupt the chat, banning anyone who does, and kicking anyone who's causing minor trouble. 5 minutes later, she's already online, sitting on her bed in a provocative pose. It's a sex show, isn't it? Really? What clued you in? Her voice, previously hushed, rings out in full force. How are you doing tonight, hopefuls? You peek at the chat. We're not worthy, Queen. Angel. Heck yeah, time to F. I mean, seems fine. You're tempted to try out the kick and ban prompts as soon as possible, but obviously you won't punish someone for a little dirty talk. Thank you, and thank you to YouTube for not supporting this video, because I have a feeling they're not. Today's show is quite special. Please welcome our new moderator, Porno's Collector. Yeah, well, I picked a great name. Let me know. Oh, who? Oh, sorry for sentencing you to death earlier. At least the community here seems to be a bit more welcoming this time. Looks like this place has an established hazing ritual. Or maybe they, and Hope, come up with one specifically for you. Who knows? You decide to stay silent. Eventually, people stop riffing on you and focus entirely on the star of the show. Alright, let's start this one with a bang, shall we? It begins, Queen. Oh boy, she's gonna do it. So this is where the strip show starts? You raise your head, curious about what kind of performance she's going for. First, she opens her mouth and reveals her retractable fangs in front of the camera. Right off the bat, the online audience is treated to a sight of her wholly human set of teeth turning into monstrous maw. The image is both revolting and fascinating. And because of the internet, I could see you getting away with this without violating the masquerade per se, though not everyone will agree. She raises her left wrist for everyone to see and then bites. Her fangs immediately turn her arm into a horrifying, gory mess. It's unclear if she used them to slash or bite, but one thing's for sure, no ordinary human could cause such damage. If an ordinary human suffers such a wound, you'd expect geysers of blood to appear too, but it doesn't. Hope's technically a corpse, so it's impossible. She flashes a monstrous smile and starts smearing Vita all over her hand to maximize the impact of the violent image. Then she starts drinking it up. She makes it a point to make the sight as gruesome as possible, looking like a hyena feasting on a corpse. The contrast of her behavior with her look of Instagram model is stunning. Once she's done, she reveals her wrist to the camera for the last time. She starts making theatrical gestures with her right hand as the wound begins to mend. Shortly after, the wound is gone, like a magician's trick. Her left hand looks like nothing bad had ever happened to it. Here's an appetizer. First blood to kick off the show. While you're wondering what the heck's going on, Hope catches a glimpse of your bewildered face and turns your direction. How's that for an opening? Is it not a sex show? Sex? Oh, are you counting on me getting naked in front of you or something? Oh, honey, we just met each other. If you expect a strip show, yeah, sorry to disappoint. This is more like, live-streamed digital art. The erotic subtext is there, of course. You peek at the chat, they're going wild. She did that for free. I love it. Yeah. Yep, there we go. Beautiful woman, teetering on the edge of oblivion, rose petal dancing on the edge of a violent hurricane. Everyone's got their kinks. But eroticism is not the key here. It's vampirism. It's a new frontier, a living art installation. In the early 90s, the Japanese artists kept producing these videotapes with beautiful women committing gory harakiri. Those are an inspiration. She bares her fangs again in a devious grin. But I've no interest in auto-destruction or turning myself into a victim. This is a celebration of the body I love, not self-inflicted punishment. The audience came here to marvel at the beautiful vampire and her awe-inspiring powers. Mending wounds is just one of these powers. The people watching can pay to see more. Oh, and don't worry. The only things the audience can see and hear are the things I allow them to. We can talk freely. Just remember to moderate the chat, will you? High risk of violating the masquerade? What a joke. She's blatantly breaching it in front of anyone and anonymous viewers. Still speechless, you turn your attention to the screen. But here's the thing. A, this is absolutely a dark web thing. And B, how many kindred are even going to be looking for this kind of stuff online? She's probably pretty safe. Those who could call her out probably wouldn't. My group feeling generous today. Have you planned your next tattoo yet? I'll pay for the next attraction. Looking for guys, jeez. Letting you know you're based. I know. Yeah, this is smashing the keyboard. Nope, everything's fine. You let the guy vent his excitement. Seems harmless. A special message appears in the chat log claiming somebody has successfully sponsored the first goal of the show. Hope smiles and picks up a bag of blood from underneath the bed. It must have been retrieved from a blood bank. She showcases the label to the camera for everyone to see. Drink up, drink up, drink up, drink up. Hope pours all the contents of the bag into her throat. You have no doubt it's real blood, but wonder why the viewers would be so satisfied with something so easy to fake. Don't worry, it pays well enough. You don't even bother to tell her it's not what you're thinking about. Safe to assume she knows. So, what do you know about kindred and the internet? Have they told you anything? While she's waiting for someone to sponsor her next vampiric feat, she decides to start a new conversation. No, nothing. Well, makes sense. Not the first thing you teach to a fledgling. See, some of us used to experiment with our own secure networks. We tried building our own information hub, social networking, everything. She's still working the phone in one hand while looking for something under the bed with the other. How many things can she concentrate on at one time, exactly? Then one day the NSA got in. Turned out elders never really got the hang of proper security practices, or the sigils they used to smear on their screens didn't exactly work as advertised. Then, of course, all the other three-lettered intelligence agencies in the world got intel. A lot of them decided bloodsuckers were the perfect new enemies for our post-9/11 times. The Second Inquisition came into being. Ever heard of it? A lot of our kind died just because they were too present online. Right now, the remains of our old network serve as government honeypots, kept alive to attract fledglings and hunt them down. Ooh, that's really interesting, actually. That's really interesting. And the best part about it is the idea that governments would actually recognize them as a threat, that they were real. You post a certain keyword on Twitter or Facebook, you get tagged for investigation. You fit certain patterns, you get tagged for investigation. So there's a certain thrill to being online presence without attracting attention from the authorities. She stretches on the bed. I hope you're still monitoring the chat. Of course not. You're as good at dividing your attention as she. You're not as good at dividing your attention as she is. You correct your mistake and check the recent messages. Aw, she talking to someone. Can't wait for the real thing to start. The two monitors set up rules. Call of Duty one screen. Drop dead hotness on the second screen. Only woman I don't hate. Hope has Hope more like my favorite. Maybe I'll kick the last one because I don't think that's appropriate. Give the guy a kick. You give yourself a normal nickname, douchebag. After 10 seconds, he's back with the same handle. Time for a decision. Ignore or ban. Ignore for now. He has a chance. Despite the nickname, they seem supportive. You leave them alone. You look away from the screen for a second, and when you look back, there are 3 new messages from the same user. Yeah, it's just me, or does your face look like, but don't worry, big special needs person. Yeah, okay. Doing a great job back there. The guy gets banned, and Hope gets back to running the show. Great job. Eventually, was done right. I mean, at first it was kind of like a, nah, not sounding so great, so I kicked him as a warning. Then let him come back and see, and then he says all that, and so it's like, ban him. They must have heard her. You messed up. Anyway, yeah. When the Nosferatu admitted to Camarilla their network got compromised, the others went back crap insane. Internet communications became strictly forbidden. There were executions. A lot of people who use social media to secretly contact their mortal families and lovers got offed. That goes without saying. But if you weren't careful, even the most innocent web usage could result in being punished with final death. Thanks to user Dick Steele, the next goal has just gotten successfully funded. Let's go! Vanishing act to humanize yourself and face the bloodshed. She raises her hand, 3 fingers up, 2 fingers up, 1 finger up. The countdown ends and she immediately disappears from the screen like a ghost. You can still see her on the bed, but the live feed indicates there's nobody there. When you deeply focus on the digital image, you swear you can make out some unusual glitching where her silhouette should be, but it could very well be just a placebo. You ready for this? 3, 2, 1. A flash of the camera. Instantly she reappears on the screen. She takes a selfie, sticking out her tongue in a provocative manner. The chat room explodes and cheers again. She's the vampire queen. You briefly wonder about being glued to the screen. Is this the fantasy everyone is here for? A girl showing off cheap magic tricks while lazily browsing her social media? You realize you're way out of your depth here. Meanwhile, Hope decides to continue her lecture. Those were some wild times, especially in New York. While most of them have no clue at our real nature, a lot of the clandestine organizations have classified us under national threats. And since this is where the towers fell, the agencies are very much present around here, looking for easy PR victories. The last SI raid here was just a few years ago, and it was a big one. Stirred up the hornet's nest something fierce. But although it's 2019, New York City is ruled by someone who got embraced before World War II, and the cam as a whole got really spooked and swore off the internet. Of course they're not dumb and understand you can't really coexist with modern kind without the internet. It's a gray zone right now, like piracy. Technically frowned upon, but let the one without sin cast the first stone. The SI is a real threat, no joke, but in many scenes the darkest place is right under the candle. We take another look at the screen. We want blood. How about some bad stuff? Can you do some bad stuff? Can you show us next time? It's been a long, hard day. Please give me a shout out. Familiar nickname pops up. I don't know. This is the guy who's just like, he seems like just to be excited, not really spammy. Ignore. Guy seems to be having the time of his life. Good on you, buddy. You really just gonna let this guy crowd up the chat? Come on. It's your job to react to spam. Crap. I'm not doing a good job here, man. She lets out a dejected sigh and kicks the guy from the room herself. Can't imagine she's too satisfied with how you're handling the situation. Show goes on. Oh yeah, fun fact about being a vampire. We can sweat and pee if we exert ourselves really hard. Some of us can even orgasm. We can even cry, but only tears of blood. It's something I've always dreamed of doing when I was 14. So romantic, and it drives them crazy. As proof of her words, a scarlet tear starts running down her face. The chat goes wild. This seems to be an exact kind of thing they've been waiting for. The angel fell down from heaven. Did it again. Beautiful. If you torture your soul, find some calm eventually. Can you imagine a U.S. assembly of blood-sucking squad that would just cruise the border and suck out blood for illegal? They found that they thought gives me the biggest boner. I don't know. I mean, sure. Ban. And banned. Just to be clear, you realize what we're doing here is blatant breach of the Masquerade, right? I honestly expected you to leave or inform someone by now, but you haven't, have you? You try to focus on the chat. A familiar nickname is played on screen. Alright. Ban. Looks like Mr. Masochist needs a longer break. After you ban him, you hear Hope's voice. Good job handling that guy. It's the third time's a charm. Great, if nothing else works out, seems like you fit the job at this job at very least. In any case, the last goal has been funded. It's time for the grand finale. This is what you've all been waiting for, right? Yes, Queen, yes, Queen. Her voice has changed. She gets closer to the camera, letting her face fill the frame of the live feed. Her mesmerizing eyes are focused purely on the viewers. Ooh. You want his blood? Come out into the streets, claw at your neighbor's throat, slash their veins, and drink up. Yes, yes, yes. Hope's presence becomes absolutely horrifying, and it influences the chat in some incomprehensible way. Everyone starts typing like they're possessed. Liberate yourselves from the shackles of ordinary mortality. Make them scream, feel the warmth of their entrails. Yeah, they're all just going crazy now. What the heck is she doing to these people? Why have you gotten yourself into? Transcend your bodies, release the message of hope into the world. She jerks violently for a second, then falls down on the bed like a marionette that just had its strings severed. She exhales loudly a few times and laughs. When she does, the room goes dark again. Alright, that's enough. Instead of continuing, she does something with her phone. The stream ends. The chat instantly becomes dead quiet. Let me take over. The atmosphere in the room has completely changed. She's already pulled herself together, stood up. Now she's walking toward you. What the F just happened? Guess the show's over. Everyone relax and go home. Aw, and I was almost ready to, yeah. Hostage, I swear on my father's grave one day I will find you and kick the living crap out of you. After every line she delivers, she changes her voice, the way she put on her lips together, and even the way she moves. You've caught glimpses of her acting this way, but only now have you started to figure it out. Oh, wait a minute. Was this all just her own show? Wait a minute, does that mean... I'm immortal, I'm bored, I'm separated from most vampires in the city by generation chasm, and it's so gosh darn lonely. The internet used to be my only friend. Oh, okay. Years ago I started researching Tulpa's collective unconsciousness, all the mumbo-jumbo at the intersection of psychology and spirituality, and I decided to experiment. The show was fake. A few years later, I was an Instagram fashionista, a successful erotic model, a vital part of pop culture commentarity, a variety crap poster, a cryptocurrency expert. Yeah, that whole thing was just her. Fetch, man! I didn't realize we were gonna have a repeat of the character from Bloodlines. All my internet selves started signal boosting each other, paving the way for new ones. I became a one-woman empire surrounded by legions of psycho fans. The chat was fake. Some may think of it as a dissociative identity disorder, but that's bullcrap. Everyone has online alter egos that are buried. I just resurrected them, gave birth to new ones, and let them crossbreed. Her constant tapping at the phone even during the show, somehow she's capable of impersonating an entire chat room. I don't even have a self that could dissociate or be mentally ill. I'm a host, a living database. I live because I find it to be fun and an information conduit. The process trends and supports the ones I deem worthy. There was no masquerade violation. She was showing off her skills all along. She put you in a world of pure fiction, the same way she's testing you back when she attacked you from the back. Dang, she's good at this. That is freaking amazing. Of course, you can't just ignore what I'm saying and decide I'm just another deranged Malkavian. But hey, annihilation as the self is the only way to survive in the 21st century. And if there ever was an era that demanded images of beautiful people transcending beyond humanity and inspiring others to do the same, it's this one. Although for now, because of the Masquerade, my audience is quite limited. Speaking of, you want to be the star of my next movie? You know what? Considering the fact that this is all just like fake anyway, sure. Sure, why not? I have a hunch you're just saying that. Still, hey, in a way, this too is transcending beyond self. But yeah, your test is over. Now the question is, do I want to work with you? She puts away her phone for the first time since you've met her and gives you a good hard look. Guess I can give it a shot, yeah? You're not that dumb, you're not that boring, and you're kinda cute. Don't worry, no more modding jobs, and that's always bad news. She grabs your arm and starts leading you out of her room. I put you through enough crap. Next time, I'll let you in on a little job I'm doing. We hit the streets, and you'll see why Sophie told you to contact me. She leads you through a labyrinth of gray corridors. It's a different route than the one you made your way through. The city is so much more than what elites consider real. Stick with me, and I'll guide you to places the Camarilla elders couldn't reach in 100 years. She leads you out of the building into the back alleys. Even if someone else rules the streets, we will rule the information highways. This is the power of hope. She lets out a theatrical laugh and disappears. You don't even notice when she leaves you alone, but you assume everything went as well as it could. A new ally, the power of hope. I'm glad! She's definitely really interesting. As you walk off the night, everything around you feels a little less tangible than it did a few hours ago. Fetch, that was awesome. Ooh, I like her. She's crazy. But how incredibly useful and intelligent she is. Very, very powerful ally indeed. I hope... Yeah, that was interesting. That's going to take a little to wrap my head around, but we do need to end for tonight. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Subverted my expectations 110%. So I'm curious to see what will happen next time we meet up with her. But I suppose we'll have to see if there is a next time. I have no idea how much time I have left before end the game, whatever that is. So we'll just have to wait and see. But you know what? I'm excited to do so. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me. Out of curiosity, I don't know if any of you know this, but I just started a new series on my Monday slot. It's Muv-Love Photon Flowers. It's a collection of extra content from the Muv-Love series, which is Muv-Love Extra, Unlimited, and Alternative. Possibly the best story I've ever read, period. If you haven't ever read it, I highly recommend you do. If you want to get a taste of it, I recommend watching maybe the first couple episodes of that series. But be careful because it is a long series, but the payoff is so worth it. It's not. I can't understate it. So if you like good stories, especially if you are interested, if you've enjoyed rom-coms in the past and then you like sci-fi, trust me, it's worth riding through. The Muv-Love Extra can be a little ridiculous and just kind of cutesy, but there's a big reason for the way it is, and it's super worth it. So I highly recommend you check it out. But if you don't, that's perfectly fine. Plenty of other good stuff I hope you find on my channel that you enjoy. But ultimately, I thank you for spending your time with me here. Thank you for enjoying this series, and I'd love to read your comments below. What did you think of Hope? Whew, that was an intense one. And then what do you think of Emma and the whole interaction? I felt like it was very, very shortened, and I wonder if it's because of the choice that I've made up until now. So I'm curious to see if on a replay, if I could get better if I didn't depend on my vampire powers so early, so much so early on. But we'll have to find all of that out later. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Thank you so much for joining me, and until the next video, what time you have to see me in next, I'll see you there.